been a long time. It's been pre-COVID since we've done something like this. It's great to see a lot of faces I've known for 20, 25 years. Hello. There's a tremendous amount of new faces, which I think is great because as our community grows, this club is growing tremendously. I think that says a great job about you all, so I think that's a great job. Before going any further, I'd like to comment on what Jennifer was talking about and the job that Jim Brannon has done. Like Ben said, a lot of the things that we pass in the House don't get a hearing. I know that's not Peter's fault, it's a little frustrating, but you know, those of us that I see here from the House voted for election security, but it wasn't a vote against Jim or Jennifer because they've done a great job. This was something that, especially when you're down in Boise for a while, you understand there could be a problem. So I just want you to understand that those of us that did vote for that, we're looking at these two and saying they did a bad job because they do a really good job in this town. Anyway, to begin with, my name is Jim Addis. I am running for re-election for the Idaho House of Representatives, District 4 Seat A. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Terry. We have a daughter, Kendra, who went through school here, went to NIC here, and she's getting married in October, knock on wood. So, grew up in a very small logging community north of Spokane, Washington, Chewelah, Washington, town of 1,500, like I said. Lived in above a single car showroom Ford dealership with a dirt lot that you just don't see anymore. The shop was 3 stalls. It was heated by a wood stove, which if OSHA could see that, they'd just love that, wouldn't they? It was a great life. Grew up after school working in the business, learning things, mechanic work, things like that. Worked hard. It was a great experience, good building experience. My folks were always Republican, and that's where I learned to be a Republican. I don't know if you have to learn too hard to be a Republican, but voted for Ronald Reagan, been a Republican supporter ever since. About 40 years ago, the family moved to Coeur d'Alene. They bought the Dodge store that became Tom Addis Dodge there on 95, which is Parker Toyota built right across the street, but that's where that was at that time. And then the old Ford store that was on 4th Street became Tom Addis Lake City Ford. Rebuilt stores up on 95 where they are now. I was attending college at the time. Got degrees in economics, a 4-year degree in business marketing. I developed an entrepreneurial bent, and I went out on my own and worked in the manufacturing field for 15 years, working for a large iron foundry of all things, like the Budweiser commercial where you see steel being made and things like that. And it was a great experience because I got to see firsthand how American manufacturing can compete with the world. I mean, we sent heavy iron castings that have big shipping costs all across the United States to Canada, to Mexico, to Europe. And it basically taught me that, you know, American manufacturing is competitive, it can work. All they need is the opportunity and a level playing field. And I missed the level playing field business was getting. It kind of ended when Joe Biden was elected president. But we can do the job, and I learned a lot. I returned to Coeur d'Alene about 25 years ago to join the family business, help build the business. I was fortunate to work with some great employees, and we all worked together. You know, we succeeded and had a great life, but we also helped, you know, there's 165 employees that worked really hard, and we were able to help with great wages and great private health care, retirement plans and things like that, so that they could live their dreams and raise their families and do the things they needed to do. And that's really what America is. And quite frankly, to me, that's what Coeur d'Alene is. And I think more Coeur d'Alene and Kootenai County values down in certain parts of Idaho is probably a really good thing, okay? I'm not gonna blame everyone else, but I think that's a really good thing. During this time, you know, I kind of learned from my folks the importance of giving back and the importance of being involved in your community. You know, my mom and dad, Lynn and Tom Addis, they set the bar with a bunch of other local people in Coeur d'Alene to help make sure that the community stayed great. I've been fortunate to serve on some pretty good boards from the early days of the Excel Foundation to Concerned Businesses of North Idaho, Boys and Girls Club, serve on Rotary, and it's just a good way to keep to see the people in the community in the area that you represent. Our business, we sold it in 2016. Know what that's like. What do you do? And at that time, a door opened for me, and that was to serve the legislature and represent District 4. I was elected in 2018, re-elected in 20, running now in 22. Currently, I serve on Rev and Tax, which this last year, the biggest project I was looking at, well, there's two projects, was we need to stop or pay for unfunded state mandates that the counties have to do. And I know I've worked very hand in glove with Jim and Jennifer on some of those facts. Whenever we are, it's just like if Washington DC tells us to do something and they don't pay for it. Well, I don't like them to tell us to do something, but when they do that, don't pay for it. That's really bad. Well, the state shouldn't do the same to our counties, right? So I know Sheriff Norris has concerns about some of the things he needs to do to protect our citizens. And there's a lot of different things, and he knows those things better than anyone, but he needs funding to do it. That's the bottom line. And so if we can, and we did pass a law this year that gets rid of a couple levy taxing districts, and that money is replaced by general fund dollars because public defense is basically a state mandated item. And so if we can do more things like that, we can free up our budget to either reduce taxes or pay for those needed things that our sheriff would want to do to protect us. That's kind of the focus I bring to the Rev and Tax situation. Serve on transportation, and I think what has gone a little bit under the radar is not this session, but last session, we kind of rejuggled the pie. And especially in this area, Kootenai County and north, Sandpoint's growing like crazy too. We changed the distribution of the existing taxes that are collected. There's been no tax increase, but we've changed it from 1% going to transportation to 4.5%. And that money can be used to help with our transportation infrastructure that new growth is straining. I did a commercial for my first campaign where Terry and I were driving up. We live down by the Fort Grounds, and we're driving up to Petco to get some dog food. And that drive used to take 10, 15 minutes, and now it can take a half hour to 40 minutes. And the only thing that solves that is improving our infrastructure system. And that's what this bill does. And Jim told me he had to leave for a meeting, so I know you're not unhappy. At least I hope you're not unhappy. So that's kind of some of the stuff we've done with transportation. I think quality of life is the single biggest thing we can hope for here. And I think time is our most precious resource. I'm probably on the other side of the 50-50 yardstick as far as how our lives are going, and many of us are, but many of us are a lot younger. But time is our most precious commodity, and we need to work on our infrastructure system to ensure we have more time. And then lastly was serve on natural resources. And I think one of the biggest bills we worked on, it was my first year there, when President Obama was gonna leave the White House, this was November or December, his EPA put forth some regulation on the mining industry that was essentially gonna shut down mining in Idaho and a lot of other places. And that would be the Silver Valley, where we have a rich history of mining, to the phosphate patch over in the Pocatello area that would have shut it down. And when President Trump came into office, he had a new team, or as new a team as you can have with the government bureaucrats, and they kind of looked at some things and said, hold on, this is a little extreme. So our mining industry worked with the federal government, and I was fortunate to run and pass a complete rewrite of 1970 Surface Mining Act. That's a big, heavy lift. And what that did is mining got ahead of the curve and said, we need to give environmental insurances so that we can protect our environment and still mine. They increased their financial participation to guard against future problems, to take the taxpayer off the hook, and we should want that too. If they're gonna do business, they do business, but don't make the taxpayer liable, and we passed that. And that's so important for especially northern Idaho, because that's jobs, it's pay, it's health care, it's allowing people to raise families, it brings in needed monies for roads and bridges. I mean, it's what we need to survive as an area up here. So that's kind of the stuff I did. You know, I'll just tell you what I tell everybody. Every day I walk into the Capitol, the hair on my back of my neck stands up, because it truly, the Capitol represents the best form of government known to man. Of the people, for the people, by the people, and I get to work with some great people. I get to represent some great people. It's a privilege, and all I'm trying to do is ensure that the rest of Idaho has the opportunity and the ability to grow like we've been able to succeed and grow here in northern Idaho. Good people, good values. We need to pay it forward for our children and allow the fact so our children can make a life here also. If they've gone somewhere else, I want them to come back. That's what we should all want. And with that, I just appreciate the ability to be here and speak to you. And questions?
Well, we don't have, maybe just one question, because we don't have enough time.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You can take a question if you want. Yeah, I think there's that. I'm sorry.
I have one question. My big concern is education, retired teacher, and I'm looking for candidates who are working towards the concept of the money follows the child in the schools.
Comment? Yeah, I agree 100%. Now, I will tell you, I'm a product of public education, and I got a pretty good education. My daughter got it, she went to NIC, she's been successful because of education, but I've been long a proponent of what you're talking about. In fact, our old superintendent, Dr. Cook, was from Denver, and Colorado is a full, the money follows the student state. And his comment to me was, I know how to compete, I know how to make education survive and thrive in that environment. He says, just give me the budget, get out of my way, and we'll make it work. Well, he's gone on to other pastures. Ron Mendive had a bill last year that would go in that direction, and I voted for it, and I couldn't agree with you more. We need to have parents involved as much as possible in their education.